Good morning, you fellow defenders of the faith. I am Pastor Mark Baze, and this is Shields and Arrows, where we defend the faith, the family, and the fellowship. I hope that you had a good, long Memorial Day weekend and took some time to be thankful for, obviously, those who have protected this nation, fought for this nation, gave their lives for this nation, and the families who remember the ones that they had lost. Now, with that, we get to celebrate this great country that we live in every single day, where we gather together to study the Word of God, and we look at important matters, whether those be social, cultural, and obviously theological. I'll remind you, Theology Thursdays, we take your theology questions. I think I'm going to be able to do a Theology Thursday this week, but the reason why I'm having to think about it is because we are actually doing a Bible conference this week, 3 days in Sobel, Oklahoma. Sobel, Oklahoma is always so great to host my Bible conferences that I do every single spring. Now, this year, a very special one. I'm very excited about it. It is going to be God's Preserved Word. This is going to be our 2024 Spring Bible Conference. And session number 1, why so many Bible translations? And what's the source of it? Why do we have so many different types of Bibles? Doesn't matter which one we use. Is there one that's better? Session number 2, we're going to look at the differences between them. And then session number 3, we're going to be addressing the doctrine of preservation. So that's going to be Wednesday night, Thursday night, and Friday night. Now, I'm going to say, don't just take it to the bank, get your hopes up. It's possible, okay? Possible. We might just be able to live stream this thing. Okay, the church does have internet, and guess what? They have Starlink. So you all know how Starlink does. Sometimes Starlink is great and amazing and fantastic, and then other times Starlink is, well, Starlink, and it certainly can struggle. Which today it's storming outside, so I don't know. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Can you hear the thunder? But with that, that's what we're going to be doing this year for our Spring Bible Conference. I am trying to work on the process of doing more Bible conferences. I did one in early spring back in March at Clayton Avenue. I'll remind you that one was the integrity of Scripture, looking at the first 9 chapters of Genesis. And so that's available for you to watch. Also, I'll remind you, I got to get this uploaded onto Worshipify, so shame on me. But if you go to YouTube, we did get our most recent Sunday studies uploaded for you. The internet just hasn't been great, so I haven't been trying to even live stream from the church. We're working on getting good internet. It's going to happen eventually. Just be patient with me. But if you notice, we started a brand new series. But that brand new series is Misapplied, Questioning Doctrine Derived from Bible Stories. And this is going to be a series we're going to spend, the next several months going over. But just like Joshua, we're looking at the famous passage, Joshua chapter 1, verses 1 through 9 on Sunday. And we addressed some matters concerning that. Let's see here. I'll just show you. So thankful for all of you who donated, supported our ministry to where we can have this nice new camera set up right here. Center stage with the church. And I got the color scheme a little bit better. I'm still trying to get all that figured out. Probably could still be a little bit brighter. You don't want to wash out the TVs in the background though. So there is our series right there for Joshua. And then, let's see here. Let me go back, and we also have Jonah verse by verse. Session number 3 is up. We've covered the first chapter. We also started Philippians. So we are trying to get a bunch of content out there to you, for you, and hopefully you enjoy that and appreciate it. And if you have any questions about it, please let me know. So we're trying to get a bunch of content out there for you. Okay, now, let's see here. Anything else other than the Bible conference? I do plan on trying to I will live stream today and tomorrow. I'm probably going to be able to Thursday, but I'll be doing it from a different location. Friday will be the day that I'll do it from a different location. So I'll have to pack some things and bring them back and forth and all of that. So, okay. With that, good morning. Great to have all of you on with us. I see the comments section is doing well. So be sure to let us know if you are a new person who has not watched before. Let us know where you're from. We are so happy to have you. And as always, I'll give you a little bit of the preface. Number one, the internet sometimes can be in and out, so be patient with us. But also, you know, we take a look at the Bible, we analyze it very carefully, and because of that, we don't just take the traditions of men, we don't just go along with whatever so-and-so taught, just because they were considered a great theologian, a great pastor, great minister, great church father. If they were right, it's because we agree on how they interpret the Bible, but we do not just say because so-and-so said, this is what we teach. And so with that, we may find a point, you may find a point that over the course of this show, I may say something that you don't entirely agree with. You may think, I've never heard that before, that doesn't sound right. Just be patient. You don't have to agree, but let's work together to where maybe we can come to a better understanding of the Word of God, okay? Now, today's show, titled, You Have a Responsibility to Care. We are going to be talking a little bit more politics today than what we have in the past. You know, sometimes we talk a whole bunch of politics, and it's been kind of boring lately because every single day I can say, well, Trump's in another trial, and Biden did another Biden, and the House of Congress continues to be kind of a joke. And you get tired of it, I know. I don't always like to talk about politics, but sometimes we do need to address these things, and I want to point out that it absolutely does matter. We do need to care about what's going on in the world. So we're going to talk about a few things. I'll try to keep it interesting for you, okay? I'll try to make it to where you understand where we're going with all this. And then at the end, we're going to talk about some theology and the King James. Did the King James do a good job handling the word saints? We'll talk about that because in the Greek, hagios is an adjective, but the King James translated it as a noun. Could they do that? Should they do that? After all, if we're going to say the King James is, we believe to be the best, most accurate translation, how can we defend it if hagios is an adjective and not a noun? Why did the King James translators do that? Did they do a good job? We're going to look at that at the end of the show, but you got to stay tuned. So tease, tease, tease. And then we're going to get into our topics today. So first and foremost, the Trump trial in New York over the hush money filing paperworks for the donation to his own campaign. Closing arguments are today, and then the jury is going to make their decision. Here's the thing. If you're Trump, what do you actually want? Because, I'm just saying, Trump, before all the trial stuff and all the charges laid against him and DeSantis were kind of neck and neck in the run, right? It was only after all the charges got brought against Trump that his polling started getting, well, higher and higher, and it boosted him. Would it help Trump to get indicted in this New York case? Everybody thinks this is a political trial. It's a farce. It's a ridiculous charge. Unless you are CNN, MSNBC, you understand that this is all a big joke. Should, for the sake of the Trump campaign, him get indicted? it almost would probably help him at this point. I do not know. I don't know what you could do to hurt Trump. If he gets off, this is such a lose-lose situation, which is why it was so ill-advised for them to go after him like this. Because it's a lose-lose situation. Either he gets off, in which everybody says, yeah, see, it was a ridiculous charge, and Trump got out of it, he can get out of anything, all the guy does is win. Alternatively, he gets indicted, and he just becomes that much more of a martyr. And everybody looks at it and they say, yeah, this is ridiculous. Of course he got indicted. Those crooked politicians, Joe Biden and his DOJ. It's such a lose-lose situation for him. So do it. We dare you, right? The American people dare you. Go ahead, prosecute your political opposition and see how things go for you. Everybody quotes, well, 2016, we all joked about locking up Hillary. Yeah, we did, and it was funny. But did Trump actually do it? No, he didn't. This is the precedent that's been set. And if you're watching the show for the first time, you're not, don't think that I'm sitting here saying that Donald Trump is God's gift to man. I hold to an age of the silence of God in our dispensation. So we make our own choices, right? We create our own problems. We make our own bed. We have to sleep in our own bed. So all I'm saying is, who are you going to choose? All right? Just look at the grocery store prices from now versus 2019. 2020, the thumb was on the scale of that a little bit. I just want to be able to afford to feed my family, and I also want to be able to live without the government, trying to control everything that I do. So, given the choice between the two, I know who I'm going to go with. So with that, I'm not some big Trump apologist, greatest gift to man, but what I am saying is, yeah, give me Trump over Biden any day, and right now, all of the efforts that they're doing to try to get him thrown in prison, or at least get him off the ballot, does not seem to be effective. So what are they going to do? Go ahead, make his day. Make Trump's day. If you're Trump, you're probably sitting there thinking, yeah, if I get indicted on this thing, it's only going to help me that much more. Because the people don't like it. People do not like to see politicians weaponizing their own departments against them. And you can say, this is a New York case. It's not a federal. Come on now. Come on. I've got oceanfront property in Push County, Oklahoma to sell you if you are going to buy that. Okay. So also, in terms of the presidential nomination, have you seen the Libertarians' presidential nominee? Oh, this guy, he is so libertarian. He is very much a get off my lawn, let me live my life kind of libertarian. And his name, let me get it pulled up for you here. I don't have it remembered because who even remembers who this guy is? But the Libertarian nominee, a former Georgia Senate potential hopeful, and let me see, I had his name right here in front of me, but I lost it. And you already know it, I'm sure. But we don't even know who this guy is. I had my notes, and then Chase Oliver. Chase Oliver is the Libertarian presidential nominee. So who's Chase Oliver? You would think he would be this, based upon the stereotypical Libertarian Party, he's a, I hold on to God, my guns, and I want the government out of my business. No, Chase Oliver is just a lib. He is, he has nothing to say against drag queen children's story hour, transing the kids. He's for open borders. He's just a liberal. That's what he is. He's just a left-wing guy. So the Libertarian Party very much is a joke. It's dead, whatever maybe it once was. It's a corpse. So you have no viable options. Here's the thing. If you are not a progressive left-wing ideology person, you only have one candidate you get to choose, and that one candidate is going to be Trump. Otherwise, just don't vote at all, I suppose. But not voting is a vote for the progressives. You have to understand that. You can sit there on your high horse and say, I'm not going to vote for any of these. I don't approve of any of them. You can do that, and you can march right up there and might as well cast a vote for Biden if you're going to take that approach. Yeah, you may not like it. No, I don't think there's ever been a candidate in history that everybody's just said, man, that is the embodiment of everything I want. The embodiment of everything that's great. Even though I say that, and I really liked DeSantis a lot, but probably Dr. White would say that's because I'm just a young 28-year-old that doesn't know anything. But you need to realize there is only one conservative, even really one libertarian candidate. And that's why I say the libertarians, they've really lost their way. Whatever libertarianism once was, it's just devolved into progressive left-wing ideology. The truth is you have to have some principles to conserve. If you don't have any foundational uniting premise, basis, ideology, worldview, you're just going to trend off into progressive ideology. So the libertarians appoint this guy, has no sense of protecting traditional marriage, no sense of protecting our border. He probably just wants to cut taxes a little bit. Hey, government, cut out my taxes. I don't want it. I want to pay it. Now, I could complain a lot about how Republicans continue to spend just as much money as Democrats most of the time. But that's what you got. That's what the presidential race is shaping up to be. There is no outsider hopeful that can save the Union. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is just a liberal. He's a hippie liberal. Joe Biden's Joe Biden. Chase Oliver is just a liberal as well. It's just all the progressive ideologies. If you do truly want to vote for a conservative, you only got one option, okay? Don't be deceived into thinking that there's a plethora of choices out there. So the libertarians truly are just as lost and hopeless as any of the others. And you do need to care, okay? People hate politics. We don't like talking about it. We get annoyed with it. That's why ESPN their ratings have gone down so much, is because they've tried to get into politics and people don't like it. We don't want to watch CNN. We want to watch sports. We want to watch big, tough guys do big, tough guy sports things. But ESPN has decided to become a political activist group. That's why their ratings are down. People don't like to talk about politics. I get it. But it does matter, and you do need to care. And you need to care because we do not exist in a bubble, okay? This is not a once-in-a-lifetime event where this generation right here is going to make decisions that just affect themselves. We're not going to recreate the world. We're not going to usher in utopia. There will be a generation come after us. So what do we do with that? We have to do the absolute best we can right now with what we've got. And there's a balance there. You can think about politics all day until you feel utterly and completely depressed and be in despair. You don't need to go that far. I remember whenever back in 2020? Maybe it's 2020. Whenever, a certain election took place and there were some questionable things that went on, and it was very interesting to see the explanations for the strange anomalies that were observed. My dad, he just said, at the end of the day, course of history is what it is. We do know how things are going to turn out in eternity. So you do need to keep that frame of mind. A lot of wisdom from my dad there. He says quite a few wise things. It's funny how he's gotten older. He's gotten a little more wise. Back whenever I was a teenager, my dad, just didn't quite understand everything. But as I've gotten into my 20s and now getting close to 30, my dad's gotten a little bit smarter as time goes on. Isn't that funny how that works? Whenever you're young, your parents are pretty smart. Then whenever you're a teenager, they're just old-fashioned and just don't know what's cool and how the world works. And then as you get older, you start to realize, yeah, I think my parents actually knew, they know something. They have a little bit of intelligence to offer. So there's a healthy balance there. We got to keep everything in perspective. No politician's going to be our savior. At the same time, there is going to be a generation come after us. And I have children. I actually have 4, by the way. At my young age, I've got 4 kids. I owe it to them to give them the best possible society that I can, so I do need to care. The idea of Christianity, so many Christians thinking, no, I'm a citizen of heaven, and I have nothing to do with the world that goes on around me. I'm not going to play politics. I'm above politics. I'm just a cut above that. I'm not going to get down in the mud and the fleas with all the common people. No, I am a holy, righteous child of God. I live in the Lord's house, even though, I don't see it. It's not here yet. That ideology doesn't work because you have to understand you live in the world. There is a world around us. There are people that are around us, and the decisions that we make now will impact the next generation. Our kids, it's the complete opposite of what progressives think, because progressives treat children as just a commodity. You can have them if you want to, kill them if you want to. Our kids are not asked to be brought into this world, right? So, because we have brought them in, we owe it to them. We owe them something. It's our responsibility to provide food to them and a roof over their head. And we owe it to them to provide the best world that we can. We should not be so self-centered that we operate in the here and now, everything for ourselves, and then leave nothing for the future generation. It's a lot of politics today, right? Spend, spend, spend. Do whatever it takes to get that vote. Give the free handouts. Who cares about the future? What matters is me getting power right now. I want it now. I'm going to make it happen right now. And the future can handle their own problems. No. As parents and as good, godly people accepting the responsibilities, we've been told to be fruitful, multiply, so therefore we are going to bring children into this world, and we owe it to them to do the best we can. And unfortunately, that does involve having to get involved with how politics works. And I wish it wasn't this way. I wish the federal government wasn't a big deal, but the way it works right now, it does kind of matter, so you do need to care. So David Platt can get up there and write about how before you vote, don't just vote for somebody who supports the Bible and families. No, you need to consider all the possibilities and think about the big picture. And yeah, maybe you should vote for the person who wants to murder unborn children. Give me a break. Christians, there is a clear line here that you are going to have to step over and get on the side that actually supports families and mothers and fathers. And no, socialism is not biblical. Socialism is not benevolent. Socialism is the government taking from somebody else to give to another person. We do not need to give the federal government all the power to control everything. Let the local people, the local governance take care of themselves, and we're going to have to go with the best options we have right now. And maybe Trump doesn't believe everything he says. Maybe he's not truly in his personal life a deep conviction guy of biblical morality. But at least he's willing to acknowledge us. So give me the guy who's willing to give some lip service. So, yeah. Right now, we live in America. One day, hopefully the rapture comes. Hopefully it comes before this election season, because it's going to get ugly. But in the meantime, we got to live in this world. We got to live in it. And I can be high-minded and say, oh, I'm not going to worry about the outcome. Jesus is king. Well, right now, the king is seated at the right hand of God the Father. One day he'll take the throne. But until that day comes, you and I got to do the best we can with what we got. So you better start caring. And if you're an evangelical out there who believes that you are just too righteous for this world, you're not getting in the fight. And if you're not getting in the fight, you're playing for the other team. Okay? And then they'll say, oh, we don't need to talk that way. We don't need to get in this mentality that it's us against them. We want to share the gospel with those other people that believe that men can be women, and who cares what truth is, and God is whatever I make him out to be or her out to be. Yeah, we need to have compassion for those people, but is compassion for those people just going to give up every bit of ground to them so they can fashion culture and society after what they believe it to be correct? To let them redefine the institutions that God made, marriage and the family? What is marriage? It can be between a man and a woman, or two men, two women, between a bunch of people. What's family? Oh, well, family, it can be a mother and a father raising children, but family can also be, just everybody, the collective, the government even, the government raising the children, teaching the children, instilling the children with values. Give me a break. Do you really think that it doesn't matter what we do here and now? You better care, because if you do not care and do not fight for what is true and what is good and pure and moral and righteous and biblical, the world that you're going to give to the next generation is going to be a very, very different world than what your parents gave you. I'm not saying the world that we inherited was perfect. Previous generations, yeah, they had their own problems. They made their own mistakes. But you got to do the best you can. You've got to do the best you can. You owe the future generations that much. So with that, yes, we do absolutely need to care. You need to get involved. If you are a Christian and you are saying you're going to sit at home because Donald Trump's a big, mad, bad, mean man, he did big, bad, mean things, he said a bad word, get off your high horse. Get off your high horse. Okay? You are going to self-righteous this country into a dystopian, godless, secular nightmare. And that really is truth. And all of the evangelicals like to spiritualize stories, and so we're talking about misapplied, right? Misapplied stories, taking Old Testament stories and building doctrine from it. Well, fine, let me play your little evangelical game. So we have a politician or a world leader, a national leader, who's a murderer and an adulterer. That probably describes the number of politicians that we have. Well, you know who else was a murderer and an adulterer? King David. So there you go. There's your evangelical story. So you're going to get up there on your high horse and say, we can't let that person be the leader of our nation. He's got those skeletons in his closet. Just absurd. Just absurd. We've got to do what we can, and I do not get to decide who's on the ballot. Okay? I don't get to pick it. The society does, and now we're down to these options. You got Joe Biden, who is, Joe Biden does this every morning. He gets out of bed, puts his finger in his mouth in the air. The wind's blowing that way. I'm going to go over this way to help the people that are in Michigan, because I need to win Michigan. So yeah, Hamas. Israel, stop being so genocidal. I mean, Hamas is bad, but Hamas, you poor oppressed people. That's Joe Biden. Joe Biden has no convictions, no beliefs about anything in the world at all. Then you've got Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I don't know how much of the worm ate his brain or how much of his brain left is from the drugs. Yeah, he has some points about agriculture. I listened to some of the interviews. Yeah, he's right. The Department of Agriculture is one of the most corrupt and absurd departments. Disband it. Get rid of it. Get rid of the Department of Agriculture. The FDA is no good either. Yeah, there's a lot of government agencies that just are worthless. Looking at you, ATF. So with that, the truth of the matter is he has some good points, but he's still just a liberal. He's just a liberal at the end of the day. He's going to do nothing to secure the border. He's going to do nothing to stand against the transgender movement. He's going to side with the pro-abortion side. He's not a good, viable option. Okay? We can do better than that, surely. You got Chase Oliver, libertarian, who has probably no beliefs at all. Just government, leave me alone. Let me appeal to the masses. Hey, liberals, look, I'm cool. I'm okay with all that stuff. And then, hey, you libertarians over there, who cares? And then you got the one guy who's saying, why are we letting people run across our border unchecked? Why are we allowing ourselves to get caught up in these overseas conflicts that go on and on with no end in sight, just giving buckets of money after buckets of money? I don't know. There seems to be one guy that's saying some things that at least make some sense. So yeah, you need to care. You have an obligation to care. All right. Let's see here. I'll give it a second. Before we go into our King James time, looking at the word saints and analyzing some contextual matters surrounding that word, the translation of it. I am no expert linguist, but I have a brain, and I've got the Bible, Strong's Concordance. Maybe we can look at it a little bit and see maybe the King James translators noted something important about the usage of the word hagios, which we get the word saints, and they did it right by taking it from an adjective in Greek to a noun in English. Now, maybe they didn't. We'll see. Maybe they had another option, but let's investigate it. All right, let's see a few comments before we go into our theology time, transitioning from the show from a hard-hitting political matter into theology matters. All right, let's see here. I will remind you, did you know that we go live on Worshipify as well? Worshipify, a free speech platform. Every now and then, I've been known to go over to Worshipify for, the last 10 minutes of the show and do some ranting and raving, saying some things that maybe would get me banned on YouTube. Maybe we'll do that again sometime soon. We had fun the last time we did it. It was a good stress reliever for me. I was able to release a lot of burdens. Okay. Susan on this morning. Good morning, Susan. Great to have you. Appreciate you always getting on. Scott, good morning. Ken, it was getting kind of wild down there in North Texas. Hope y'all are all doing good. Duncan, Oklahoma. You're out there in those mountains, so you should do okay for the most part. We have Clinton Fleming on. I've got to meet Clinton. Me and him talked on the phone. We had a good conversation. He found the small church video, which, by the way, we're filming episode number 2 this week. I know it takes a long time. It's been like a month. But hey, I'm a one-man operation here. Cut me some slack. These things take time. I am the editor and, everything. The actor, the music guy. So cut me some slack, okay? But we will be filming episode number 2, talking about the importance of Bibles and translations and why it matters and why you need to care. I don't know if it's going to do as good. I didn't think that this video, we're at 120-something thousand views, I think. Jaden, Light Knight, hi. Good to have you on, Jaden. Alan, these are people that found us through our new video. Kristen on. Kristen's one of our own. Nancy's on. Good morning, Nancy. Great to have you. Mary Terry. Good morning, Miss Mary. How are you? Myra, great to have you on. Appreciate you. Nancy's been listening to Jonah Part 3 and the Misapplied Part 1. Misapplied is going to be fun. We're going to talk about a number of stories. We're going to get to Job. We're going to talk about Elijah, the still small voice. We're going to talk about Abraham. Abraham believed God and it was credited to him as righteousness. What did that mean? What did that entail? Surely all time everybody's known that Jesus was going to die on the cross and be rose again, right? Right? May want to question the assumptions. Maybe it means something that we are getting wrong a lot of times in Christianity. Hey, Mom. The Donna Baze. Jerry's on. Heard this the other day. Hello, America. How is that unwritten but often spoken rule? Don't discuss politics or religion at the family gathering working out for you. Maybe we do need to have some conversations. I think that, we have whistled past the graveyard on all that. Chuck says some nice words here. Listening with you all today. Mark, you're doing the best job with the we are citizens of heaven and should avoid politics. Such a lie from the church. I wish everyone would listen to you. Thank you, Chuck. Yeah, it's a big problem. We have messed up our eschatology. We've messed up our kingdom theology. So we're operating under this premise that the kingdom's here, it's now, so we're all citizens of it, and Christ is king and God's will's being done. We want to pump the brakes on that ideology because you are going to be attributing a lot of things in this world going on today to what God is doing. I'm not putting that on God's charge. That's not God's fault. So we got to be careful with that. Clinton said, boy, Mark, we need to take the same perspective into allopathic medicine. Yeah, I think you talked about some important stuff, Clinton. We discussed in our phone conversation just the prevalence of massive over-medication, things like that. So much of it is not needing to be automatically addressed with just a whole bunch of drugs, right? We got to get to the heart of the matter. So much of it is just unhealthy lifestyles, whether that's unhealthy in your diet, spiritual matters as well. You got to get outside and do something. It's not healthy for us to be sedimentary, locked indoors all day, being hypnotized by devices in front of us. We're doing a lot of unhealthy things in the world today. So Clinton's got some interesting stuff. I'm excited to hear more about it. Nancy. Amen, Mark. Thank you. Yep, Alan, you're right. Abortion is the hard line. If anybody, that's why I talked about David Platt, anybody who is a serious person about the Bible, serious belief that we have been created by God, you lose any credibility the second that you try to hum-haw around abortion. You're a joke. We don't take you seriously. Pathetic. Pathetic. You say the nomination that Mark's the smartest young man out there. Y'all, I appreciate that. I'm glad you don't see me every day. Y'all would not be impressed. Let's see here. We have Tim S. on. Great to have you. Appreciate you, Tim. And all right. Okay, well, I just got done greeting everybody, saying hi to everybody. Hopefully the internet holds out with us. If things start to glitch, it starts to jump a little bit. Hang in there with me. Like, it is coming down out there right now. I mean, it really is. I can hear it's getting pretty intense out there. But we'll see how this goes. Trying to keep an eye on the strength of our signal. So if you do start to experience a little bit of issues, hang in there. Maybe it'll course correct for us. It does seem to be climbing a little bit. So give me just a moment. Hopefully this will continue to do okay. All right, so let's go over to Biblify this morning. Biblify, once again, created by a good friend, Nathan White. And let's go to Colossians chapter 1. I want Philippians. I'm doing a through Philippians on Wednesday nights. So let's look at this. Let's investigate Philippians chapter 1, verse 1. So I want to look at the word saints. To look at the word and analyze it. Now, obviously, I could go down the route of who saints are. I'll save that for another day. I do think that the first century Jewish believers, but right now that's not the point of my argument. So we don't have to debate that. We don't have to go there today. What I want to look at is or maybe a questioning of the King James Version, right? Because whenever we look at the Greek text, and we compare it to how some other translations handle the word, say the Greek word hagios, because the Greek word hagios is what we translate to get saints. Hagios in and of itself is also an verb form, but it in a